let's just say it more accurately. And as we say it more accurately, this, what happens after you die, right? We say that more accurately, it solves a lot of the problems, just in saying it correctly. And by that I mean, you don't die. There is no death. Okay? You are a virtual character, if you will, avatar, however you want to express that. You're a virtual being in this virtual reality. That's your physical being I'm talking about. Okay? Your consciousness is fundamental, but your body here in this virtual reality is a virtual body. It doesn't die any more than your elf man dies in World of Warcraft when the tree falls on him. You know, it's no different than that. Okay, so you don't die. What you do is that you leave this virtual reality. Okay? So you are consciousness. You are we say experiencing the virtual reality. You know, it'd take me a while to go in and explain all that. How is it that you experience it, and so on. But you're experiencing this virtual reality, and your character grows old and dies, or gets run over by a truck and dies. Well, that character doesn't die. That character just becomes aware in a different reality system, if it's consciousness. Now, in World of Warcraft, at least in the old one, you used to wake up in a graveyard. You know, you'd pop out in a graveyard, and then you'd have to run all the way back to wherever it is you were last in the game. You know, that's how it handles death. Because obviously, if you paid your $10 a month, you don't want your character to die. Now you're done, right? Got to go pay them. You know, again, you start another whole game. It's not like that. Your character dies a lot in those games because that's the challenge. You know, if you can beat the monsters. A lot of times the monsters beat you before you learn how to beat them, and so you have to be able to be reincarnated a whole lot. Otherwise, the game would become very frustrating. So that's the same as it is. That works a similar way here. Now, we don't pop up in a graveyard like they do there. That's a metaphor that they use in the World of Warcraft. And maybe they don't even use that now. My World of Warcraft knowledge goes back to when my son was a teenager, which is a long time ago. He's in his middle 20s now. So, in any case, so we don't die. What we do is we make a transition. We're no longer a virtual character in that virtual reality. Okay. But what are we? Well, we're consciousness. Now, as consciousness, what is it that we're doing? What's our point? What's our purpose? What are we about? You say, what's that character about in the World of Warcraft? Well, that character in the World of Warcraft is about fighting the boss monster and winning, because that's how you collect points. Okay, so what he does is he jumps up out of the graveyard and has to run back and get back in the fight again, because that's what he's about, is winning that battle. Well, that's not what we're about. We're about evolving the quality of our consciousness. We're about growing up. We're about helping the larger consciousness system evolve the quality of its consciousness, because we are a part of it. So what do we do when our character dies here? Well, we start the process of starting a new character. Now, in World of Warcraft, you just resurrect your old character, because that's convenient. We don't resurrect our old character. We start a new character. And each character we call, each character that comes and plays, we call it a lifetime. Or an experience packet. You come into the reality and you have experiences, and then you leave it by dying, quote unquote, in this virtual reality. And then because what you do is grow your consciousness, grow your quality and evolve, what you do then is plan to get back in the game, because that's how you raise your consciousness. So everything that happens from then on is really focused on getting back in the game, because that's your point. All right, so what really does happen? Well, as soon as you let your character go here, you become aware that you still exist in another reality frame. Okay, so here you are existing in another reality frame. That can be, depending on your beliefs, that can be upsetting, that can be scary, that can be high drama, or it could be old hat. Depends on what your belief systems are. Okay, if you're particularly religious in a religion that has a heaven and hell sort of thing, then your immediate reaction is probably fear. Where am I? Where am I going? What's the process? You know, am I in heaven? Am I in hell? Or hasn't that decision been made yet? You know, am I at the pearly gates? You know, going to get my ticket one way or the other? You know, so then you have all this anxiety. So you start with a lot of anxiety. Or it's like waking up in a place that you've never been before. And let's say that you go to bed tonight in your normal bed, in your normal house, in your normal community, and you wake up the next morning and you're with those pygmies in the Amazon jungle, or you're in a little house somewhere in rural China. Does that cause you any anxiety? And suddenly you wake up and your surroundings are completely different. It's going to cause you a little anxiety, right? Well, people who then wake up after their character, you know, goes away in the virtual reality, sometimes they have a little anxiety because they don't know what's going on. Where am I? What's going on here? Okay. Other times they know that they have dropped that character. They're in a kind of a non-physical being, and they think, oh, okay, this is what it's like when you die. Gee, I'd like to see my Uncle Frank and and Aunt Harriet and whatever, Grandpa, who've all been dead for decades. Now because that's where dead people live, right? I'm dead, here I am, so this must be the place where all the dead people live. Well, it's not like that either. All the dead people just don't hang around to greet their relatives. That's not what they're about. They're about growing their reality. So they're on their process back to increasing the quality of their consciousness, and that's what the purpose is of this virtual reality game. That's why we're in it. So those people then, who whatever their belief system is, often have anxiety, often have expectations, like meeting Uncle Fred. So that reality is designed to deal with those expectations, with those fears, with that anxiety. And it's basically a reality frame where you are pacified, calm down, relax, everything's going to be all right, and basically a place where you can waste a little time while the dream that you just had, that is that old physical reality that you just exited when you, quote, died, unquote, from it, that starts to disappear. Just like a dream disappears. You wake up and immediately it's real clear. 2 or 3 minutes later, it's real fuzzy. 10 minutes later, you don't remember what it was about. That's the way dreams often are. That's the way this life is after you pass out of this reality frame. It decays like a dream. So in the meantime, you have to deal with some anxiety. You have to deal with, well, what do I do next? And where's my Uncle Fred? And you deal with all of that while the dream is dying. Because in just a little while, you don't remember you had an Uncle Fred. So that's going to just kind of go away. But there's a short time there where this reality frame has to deal with that. And they do. They deal with that. But it's more of a pacification, relax, everything's okay, you're doing fine, no problem. No, you're not going to go to hell, you're not going to be burnt, we're not going to do any of these things to you. Come on over here and here's the line for matriculating in. Just get in this line and talk to the Guyper and he'll tell you everything you need to know. Well, all that is basically buying time for this dream to, it's not that guy's really going to tell you everything you need to know. It's by the time you get up that far in the line, you don't care anymore. You've forgotten all of that. You're not in the same state of need and anxiety that you were, because it's a very peaceful place. Nobody's shouting, nobody's yelling, there's no violence going on. It's a nice, quiet, peaceful place. So depending on your needs, various things happen. Now, if you come out of this and you say, okay, I'm in a transition, I'd like to go prepare for the next, well, then you're on the fast track, right? You pass all that stuff. Nobody tells you to go get in line, because you don't need that. Nobody tells you, we're going to have a class and we're going to tell you what to do next. And so you don't need all that transition hand-holding. You just go right through the process. If you come in with lots of fear and lots of expectations, you're going to need a lot more hand-holding process. So that's the reality that you have. And there are beings that work in that reality interact with you that are basically hand-holding, helping you deal with the process, and some of it are just computer characters, if you will, that are in that reality frame. All right, so that's kind of what happens. Next, once you get to the point where you're bored with nothing much happening here, really, what's going on? I've just been hanging around here, and it seems like other people come and go, but I'm still here. You'll get bored with it and want to do something else, and then you'll kind of get engaged in the process of reviewing your whole life. What are your weak points, your strong points? What do you need to learn? How is it that you can best improve the quality of your consciousness, grow up, increase, lower your entropy, all the things that if you read my books or if you go look at the Calgary video, you'll find out what I'm talking about. What is this with the quality of consciousness and so on. You'll find that all defined and derived there. But in any case, you start getting more into planning for that. You review this life to see what situation would give you the best opportunities to grow and develop in a way you need to evolve. Okay, then once you kind of understand that, a situation will be picked for you that kind of meets your criteria. And there you go. Next thing you know, somebody's slapping your bottom and you're crying and you're back in this, but at this point you don't remember any of it. You're just an infant in this large reality. Now at that point, as an infant, as a newborn babe, or even while you're still in utero, you will have some awareness of that larger reality system. You're kind of in both places. You're kind of in the physical and in the non-physical reality frame. So you're in this virtual reality as a fetus, or you're in this virtual reality as a newborn, but you're also as a component of you that's still in that larger reality that still kind of has that bigger picture. As you develop and take on more of the understanding of how to interpret this virtual reality, you let go of that connection with the larger reality slowly.